These patents make it possible to trick players into buying microtransactions.
You're in a game where this player can miss you and still hit you because his stats are worse than yours.
Vengeance is mine.
We released a case against the DMR video, why the DMR is a problem in the current Warzone meta.
The people versus the DMR.
The people versus the DMR. Overwhelming response to that video. Appreciated a lot of the feedback, and a lot of people said some interesting things, and a lot of the discussions that were had kind of poses a few things that I think are worthy of bringing up. While we were making this video, following up from our DMR video, during that recording, Raven Software did finally break that silence and did finally say something. Don't fret, we've heard you, and a balance update is coming soon to address concerns about the DMR 14, Type 63, Mac 10, and dual pistols. Dual pistols being the DMRs. Coming soon, they say. The changes, they say, also are exclusive to Warzone only. So this, unfortunately, changes a lot of the content of the video that we recorded, because that video is under the assumption that Raven Software had not said anything and wasn't going to say anything. So as we go through the video, there are some points that are a bit dependent on the fact that we're still under that assumption. Everything we say in this video is still valid, because it still took them 3 weeks to respond to this, and people have been complaining about this to them for 3 weeks straight. They didn't just see this, they didn't just find out about this, they've known for a while, and to say that an update is coming soon without any specified time frame. So it's probably at least going to be another week, I would imagine, which would put us at 4 weeks of doing nothing. I'm glad that they're finally going to do something about it. I'm glad they finally broke the silence. That's a W. We'll take that. Thank you, Raven Software, for that. But there's a little bit more to this, I feel, and we're going to explain why.
I think that, you know, I really enjoyed reading the comments on that last video. It was really interesting. We go out and we share our opinions. We don't do so expecting people to agree with us, right? If anything, we kind of invite an opposite perspective, because we want to know, are we crazy? Like, are we aligned with what the community thinks or feels about, you know, the game? And it was overwhelming. It was crazy to see how many people were in favor of a DMR nerf. And even the people who sort of leaned the other direction, they simply proposed that in their experience, it wasn't unbeatable.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That was all they could say was, well, it's not unbeatable. You look at that as just a small sample size of the Call of Duty community. When you think about the weight you would hope is on Raven Software's shoulders right now to get that fixed, but we don't know when the nerf is coming, and we don't know what could potentially rise to power in the DMR's place at that time, right? Because I think ultimately, as was mentioned by someone in the comments of the last video, the intention is for the Cold War weapons to reign supreme. But you do want your Cold War weapons to be your meta, right?
That was something that we genuinely did not even consider. That it was intentional on the part of the developers or the publishers' demands, whatever. It's by design that the DMR is reigning supreme. They have no intention of changing it. Now, this is speculative. Some of these people in the comments, some of these people on the subreddits had some pretty compelling points. When we sit down and make a video talking about the DMR, we are not thinking that the publisher or the developer is deliberately worsening the user experience in order to compel them to go and buy more of the new game they just put out in the free game that they released, and they're using it as a virtual billboard to sell Cold War copies. We saw firsthand a resounding response on our last video that everything is not okay on Warzone. Everyone is not having a great time. Why the silence? Why all these things? Well, a hypothesis is that they're deliberately making it so that a gun from the new video game is better than all the guns from the last video game that you already bought or you hadn't bought because it's a free-to-play game that you're fucking playing in the first place, and you shouldn't have to fucking buy another game that now if you want to get as many kills as that guy, if you want to be able to kill people like that guy just killed you in 2 bullets while standing on stadium shooting you from 3 kilometers away, now you have to buy Cold War. If you just buy Cold War, then you have the gun real quick, man, like that, you know, just play a few rounds of multiplayer.
Yeah, just level it up, get all your attachments.
Easy.
Go in
and instead of
win.
like what I had to do and what my friends had to do, where on a double XP weekend we hop into plunder mode. Very fun, by the way, plunder, in order to level up in Warzone in the free-to-play game so that we can then compete on an equal playing field with the rest of the player base. That's not a good feeling. The whole free-to-play aspect of Warzone up until this point was solid as fuck. It was textbook, it was good, it was textbook free-to-play stuff. It was well done. People really liked it.
It is unlocked so deep in the progression system.
Yeah.
I know that it's Call of Duty, guys, and if it's a double XP weekend, you can go from level 1 to first prestige in 2 days.
Yeah.
All right, I get it. But the average person doesn't have that kind of time on their hands.
Yeah.
Right? And when you look at a gun that's so dominant over everything else, and you don't unlock it to level 49, you're basically alienating your new and casual player base. It's going to take them weeks to get that gun and to level it up. No one's going to stick around for weeks getting ran because someone else downloaded the game last year and they didn't. You would hope that you would be able to hop onto the game and everything is a pretty fair and balanced playing field, and it comes down to you learning and mastering the mechanics. One thing that I will say about Call of Duty historically is level has never played that big of an issue in your ability to compete. Most games, the best guns in the game, you pretty much start with them. Right? Like in Black Ops 1, you kind of started with the FAMAS.
The
M4
M4 in Modern Warfare. You had it right away.
Yeah, which was the meta weapon in multiplayer.
Everybody had it.
And the MP5 as well. The two meta weapons that were used in competitive and in Warzone. And this is the first time that I think we've seen a gun so dominant, right? Because we've seen overpowered guns before, guys, but to be unlocked so late in the progression system, to put a wall for new players, that almost seems kind of counterintuitive to try and get people to pay for Cold War. I'm not so inclined to believe that it's an intentional business move on their part, but you know, maybe what's actually happening is them alienating the new player base is what's getting so many people to buy Cold War, because a lot of people won't just quit and say, oh, well, I'm just not going to play this game anymore. It takes a lot of effort, it seems like, for people to really put their foot down and quit playing a franchise that they enjoy.
I'm just afraid for so many reasons if this is deliberate. And if that's the case, this is a really scary precedent to set for the rest of Warzone's lifespan. If this is how it's going to go with every Call of Duty release, that there's going to be this wildly ridiculous overpowered meta that comes from the cross-pollination of the new COD, and that you feel like you have to buy the new COD in order to get the gun quicker, or fuck off and, you know, grind it out in Warzone or Plunder or whatever. That's not an amazing end user experience. I wouldn't be surprised that I could see it. Activision being the company that, you know, has filed all these fucking ridiculous patents. It's these patents that go and make it possible to trick players into buying microtransactions and to, you know, here we have this flow chart, which is for the engineering of this system. The patent was filed in 2015. Identify an item that may be relevant to first player. Identify a second player that possesses the item. You place them in a session where the item is going to be most effective, so that the potential buyer can see that it's really effective and really good, and they go, oh man, I do not think it's necessarily even a stretch to say that this is kind of pretty much what's happening right now in Warzone. We're getting put in matches where the DMR is highly effective. The players go, do I have the DMR, yes or no? Okay, I'm gonna buy Cold War. They're engineering it that way at the moment. The gaslighting going on with the microtransactions, and dude, that's what this feels like right now. Do you have the gun? No. All right, you should buy Cold War, dude.
Right.
If you think about it too hard, you start to put on your tinfoil hat and go, is Activision really, are they really playing me like this? You know what I mean? And you don't want to believe it, but goddamn, it's right here in writing. It's filed to the United States Patent Office, black and white, legally able to implement these things as a publisher.
Sure. And once these patents are approved for Activision to use, I mean, they're literally just tools for them to employ and use as they please.
And they don't have to tell anybody if they're doing it or not. Just like they're not telling anybody about skill-based matchmaking in Cold War or in Warzone. And they make sure contractually obligated developers also do not say anything about it. That's why you'll never see anyone talk about skill-based matchmaking, because they don't want you to know about it. They're not going to be forthcoming about implementing shit like this. They're going to do it.
Why would they be?
Undercover.
Right? I mean, all they're going to do is turn people away. So
the worst part about it is the people that it affects the most is the casual players that don't know. They don't look into this stuff. They don't care. They're the weekend
these
warriors.
Are things that are
like,
not even on their radar.
Not even on their radar. Dude, they have kids. They have a job. Like fucking. They just want to sit down on their couch and play COD for 2 hours and get yelled at by their wife.
Reddit.
Yeah, exactly. They're not, you know what I mean? They're just trying to game, dude. And they think they're amazing at COD because they're getting fucking skill-based matchmaking because Activision filed a patent 5 years ago. They're writing the playbook as we speak of how to gaslight casual players to just infinity. You know what I mean? Like, they're writing the playbook right before our very eyes. They started a few years ago with the gradual, like, skill-based matchmaking, and you've said some crazy shit about hitboxes being different for higher skilled players or lower skilled players, depending. We're seeing this shit with the DMR in Cold War. I don't know, dude.
Yes, there is a patent that was filed by Activision. What does it say, like,
player,
exactly?
And I found the patent. I'm looking for the exact verbiage within the patent because it's a little deliberately set up to be hard to poke around.
Yeah, it's legalese, man. So
filed by David Vonderhaar as the inventor. It lists, which is, I think, kind of funny. It says when a first player aims his weapon at a target, a parameter defining the tolerance for how accurate the player's aim must be to hit the target is modified based on the acquired skill of the player. The computer assigns the tolerance for how accurate the player's aim must be to hit the target differently based on the skill level of the first player.
The bullet magnetism, which is basically, for anyone watching that doesn't understand that, it's basically how severely you can miss someone's hitbox and still be awarded the hit. And they were trying to manipulate the bullet magnetism on a user-to-user basis. Anyone could assume that that would function the same way skill-based matchmaking does. People who are not as good at the game with bad stats, who the game believes are bad players, they don't have to aim just quite as tight, because if they're off by just a little bit, the game's gonna go ahead and connect it for them on a user-to-user basis. It doesn't get more shady than that. I mean, at that point, you're in a game where this player can miss you and still hit you because his stats are worse than yours. You can't make this up. I mean, that's insane. That's crazy, man. I mean, that you want to talk about like leveling the playing field, taking the skill gap out of the game? My goodness. Just if you're good, you can't miss a bullet. If you're bad, just kind of shoot at him.
Yeah. It's absurd because of the silence, because of the deliberate radio silence on these things. We're never going to know if it's happening or not. You can hypothesize, but come on, we know it's happening. And so if you think skill-based matchmaking is bad, this shit you're never going to know is happening. You can look at the Twitter clips. You could watch a Blame Truth video where he's like, look, I hit this fucking guy. Why aren't my hits being detected? If these are dedicated servers, etc., etc. We can watch those clips and we can go, oh, maybe he's just being a bitch. Maybe he's just bitching. You know what I mean? And we can do that. But then we go and Google these patents and we see, oh, they're legally allowed by US government law to make my hits not register on that fucking guy, and now I'm dead. You know what I mean? Like so when you're like, is Blame Truth being a pussy? They've been legally
enabled to be predatory on children for a video. You just steal everyone's mom's credit card money. Like,
is this streamer being a little bitch, or is this company legally obligated and allowed to be gaslighting its player base and tricking them? I don't know.
Given their history, that is exactly why people are not being so quick to overlook the potential that they're sitting on this DMR nerf intentionally.
Raven is gonna act like the reason it took 4 weeks, 5 weeks, or however long to nerf and finally respond to the DMR and nerf it is just because it's like, oh well, that's just how long it took. We just didn't know it was a
COVID. Yeah, we're teleworking.
That's just how long it takes, guys.
Yeah.
We put out the update. Aren't you happy now? It could very well be possible that Activision came down and was like, hey, you cannot tweak these guns from Cold War. The guns from Cold War must be more powerful than any other guns for the next 5 weeks. All right? And you cannot tweak that. After 5 weeks is up, do whatever you want. But for the first 5 weeks, they must be more powerful.
Right. I think that's pretty feasible too, which is the craziest thing. And they have such a broad range of excuses they could go with because they know that such a large majority of the community knows little to nothing about being a game developer. And I'm not going to pretend like I do either, right? But I know for a fact with their resources, their people, their money, I know it doesn't take 5 weeks to tweak one weapon at least. They want to see if this strategy of getting people to buy Cold War, marketing the weapons out that way, they want to give it a little bit of time to see if it's going to work first. If it does, that's going to affect how they do weapon balancing and updates going forward.
Yeah.
Because if they think that they're going to make more money by leaving the game in an unbalanced state, that's what they're going to do, right? Cool. If every gun is balanced and fair and people are having fun, that's great. But they want your money. You know what I mean? Like that's what they're there for. Whatever's going to make money is what their decision they're going to make. We talked about this in a Halo video. Every decision they make is driven by how is this going to impact our profits? If it's going to hurt our profits, we won't do it. We'll abstain from evil if it's going to come back and bite us.
Yep.
But if it's not, it's open season.
Yep.
That's all I have to say about Activision's business practices, to be honest with you. People have been talking about Activision's business practices for years, and they've only filed more patents. So, I mean, you know, what can you say?
Yeah, it's fucked up, dude. It's a really scary bad precedent. If I had a list of publishers that I would 100% immediately believe would do this, it goes EA, then Activision. Activision, fuck you. All right, that's all. That's really all I have to say. Fuck you. I had to look up patents and gag, or, you know, reading shit about my hitbox being smaller for people because I'm better at the game, so that fucking Joe can get off of work and fucking rail me and run me in Warzone, and then go into work the next day and say how fucking amazing he is at Call of Duty to his work buddies in the break room because my hitbox is just smaller than his. Fuck you. Actually, fuck you.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. Call of Duty is in the best state it's ever been. It just doesn't get better.
I hope we're not seeing the decline, man. I really hope that we don't see like.
No, we aren't seeing the decline. You know? It's crazy. Like, even with all of this garbage and these shady business practices, just alienating their community and their fan base, the games have been so much better than they were just a few years ago that we're still playing them.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. We'd really appreciate to hear your feedback. New DMR Nerf announced, coming in hot. We'll see how it goes. Thanks so much, and happy conversating down in the comments. If you liked the video, give it a like and subscribe to see more daily uploads. See ya.